One day I'm gonna be everything I wanna be. I don't let it get the most of me. One day I'm gonna be free. I wanna be everything I'm gonna be. My future right in front of me. One day I'm gonna be free. I wanna be free. Then let me be free. One day I'm gonna be free. Mentally and physically, emotionally and spiritually. One day I'm gonna be free. I'm standing at the crossroads. I'm feeling like a lost soul. Don't know where I wanna go, but all I know is I wanna be free. They're telling me to let it be, but that just ain't in me, no. Jealousy and envy, but all I see is I wanna be free. See everything I wanna be, exactly what I'm gonna be. Don't let it get the most of me. Eventually, I'm gonna be free. See everything I wanna be, exactly what I'm gonna be. Yeah. One day I'm gonna be free. I'm gonna be free. Let me be free. One day I'm gonna be free. Mentally and physically, emotionally and spiritually. Yeah. One day I'm gonna be free. I told them take their aim off me. Stop trying to get a name off me. If they would just let me be, I'm gonna be free. I told them take them chains off me and throw away the locks and keys. If they would just let me be, eventually I'm gonna be free.
They're back.
Shit.
What up? What up? What up, everybody? What up, everybody?
What up, though?
You see, we back again for another episode of The Dominant Effect. I'm Archbishop. We got Mike Ball and we got Aaron Olinger. So this time it's been 2 weeks this time because we took a week off for everybody to enjoy their Thanksgiving vacation holiday. But we back.
That's right.
And we got some more interesting topics that we're going to talk about tonight to hopefully shed a little bit of info and try to get everybody sort of on the same page. Not necessarily, but sort of on the same page. But before we get into this, just like always, we're going to talk about what everybody was into for the past 2 weeks since we haven't been here. So we're going to start with Aaron, and then we're going to work our way around.
Man, I just spent time, hosted Thanksgiving dinner at my house and had family and friends over, and it was just a great time. Gave me a chance to rebond with people and be around nieces and nephews that were almost like strangers to me, but now I got a chance to communicate with them and figure out what they've been doing, what their aspirations are in life. And if I can play a role any kind of way in my network of being able to help them along. So I'll stop there.
Nice. For me, it was really hectic, but awesome at the same time. We had family come in for Thanksgiving as well from California, and it was an awesome time. We celebrated my mom's birthday as well, and we had this humongous firework, display and big bonfire and barbecue and stuff like that. We deep fried a turkey for Thanksgiving and smoked one, so we went down with our bad selves. Absolutely.
Dude, that's what's up. That's what's up. Well, let's see. 2 weeks. What all went on in 2 weeks? Well, we did the red carpet premiere for Riding Dirty, which
Right.
was actually really nice. Really nice. First time I ever been to one, but it was really nice. They did a damn good job putting all that together. I posted pics on the page, so if you was wondering why AB was sitting there taking them pictures, looking all suave and debonair like I do, that's why.
Shit.
But anyway, but yeah, but that went great.
Yeah, you were looking all dapper and shit.
Man, I had
Yeah.
to see.
Yeah.
See, there was a thing. See, we was all talking trash about each other all week. And they was all talking about who's gonna be dressed the best. You know what I mean? So of course, I can't go out like no slouch. You
Oh,
know
you
what I
had to
mean?
show
So,
out.
right. So you know what I mean? If I'm gonna do the thing, I'm gonna do the damn thing. So
All or nothing.
yeah. So since they were talking like that, then I figured I was only obligated to go in and turn some heads, which I did.
Right.
But overall though, went great. Went real great. The other movie that we're working on now is Standing on Business, which is almost done. They're right now they're estimating it being done somewhere around 15th of December, and they're going to be
Wow.
having a premiere for that one in February.
Damn.
So they're almost done with that one, and they're jumping right into something else. I don't know which one they're jumping into right off because it's a couple different ones that they have already sitting there waiting to do. So when I find out, then I'll let you know. Then I end up back in the Buckeye State for Thanksgiving. Went there to see my mom and my sisters and my daughter, and I mean we just had a real good time. I mean it was good to be back home for a few days and just be around my loved ones and what I mean just relax for a minute. You know what I mean? I think I haven't slept that much in almost a year.
Right. It was catch-up time.
Right. I was taking hella naps, but it was
As you should.
right. But it was a real good time. But I think that's about it. So like I said, back in Florida, Saturday, back filming and gonna keep it pushing. You know what I mean? So like I said, I just thank God for being able to do this and for the opportunities to come the way they come. And so I thank God every day for that.
That's awesome. Hell yeah.
But so let's jump into this. So I've been watching the news here for the past 2 weeks. And if you notice, they're really not talking about much. About the most we hearing about is Trump and tariffs and Biden and freeing his kid and all that. That's basically what we hear right now. But they're not talking about anything that's actually going on that's important. Like there's a lot of tension that's going on right now that they're not talking about. And it's not like it's gotten to the point that it's not just, somebody just selling wolf tickets. So it's getting to the point that it's like, okay, you do this, and I promise you I'm going to do this. These are the words that we're hearing now. So, for instance, we have over in Ukraine right now. So Ukraine is trying to get into NATO, and they're saying that they would be willing to have peace talks with Russia if they agreed to give them back the land that they have taken, which is the 4 cities in the Donbass region and Crimea. If you give them back, then we'll do peace talks, and if you, we'll go sign up for NATO. Now, NATO, on the other hand, was like, "No, hold on, hold on. We let's just get the peace talks out the way, and then we'll talk about that later on." I mean, basically saying, "No, we're not about to do that."
Right.
And there's reasons to why they're not going to do that, which we're going to talk about in a minute. But the other part of it is where Ukraine has asked for nukes, and once it spread it around that this is what they were asking for, then you had a response from the Kremlin, which Vladimir Putin said that if we find out that you have nukes in Ukraine, not only are we going to destroy Ukraine, but whichever country gave it to you, we're going to get them too. Here recently, you've noticed that I've seen a thing the other day where these subs been popping up in random places that they're not normally at, and they're like purposely popping up for you to see them. There's a lot of talk between Russia and North Korea, because of course, Russia done gave North Korea some vital technology that they can use for their ICBMs as well as their satellites and stuff. We're going to talk about that in a minute as well. But we're sitting on a precipice right now that one wrong move could be the worst move you can ever make. So we're going to jump into this piece by piece. And then on the second half of the show, we're going to talk about what you can do, like what you as an individual can do right now to, of course, you can't keep whatever's going to happen, but you can do some stuff to protect yourself and your family and to make sure that you're hopefully be safe if something like this took place, because the way they have it set up right now, they're not really giving you a chance in hell, and they're not telling you about it, which in all these other countries, not only are they putting out pamphlets to let people know, but they're putting out, warnings, news warnings.
They're legitimately preparing.
Right.
Yeah.
To let people know that this is what's going on and this is what you need to start doing. But here in the US, you don't hear that at all. They haven't put out one thing out there to tell you anything. So this is the stuff we're going to talk about tonight. So Aaron, I'm gonna let you go first, because I know you already got something sitting there that you've been
He's locked and loaded.
Anyway. Right. So I'm gonna let you go first, and then we're gonna keep it pushing.
I mean, I'm gonna say this now, and I want to make this clear to everyone. We're not selling fear tonight. We're just reporting facts that's out there and let you draw your own conclusions. But whether people know it or not, there's over probably 81 countries involved in the Ukraine conflict right now. That's the reason why they're saying that World War III started, because all these nations participate by sending mercenaries or sending weapon systems or weapons platforms or sending money on both sides of that. You got 81 countries that are currently involved. Now, when this situation started, you'll see news reports on it, but it would take almost a month for the situation to change. You kept seeing the same thing, just regurgitated in a different way. But as each escalation has happened, things are escalating at such a point now that right now, just on Thanksgiving Day, I mean, just a few days before Thanksgiving, Russia changed their nuclear doctrine to where they're going to attack anybody that supplies Ukraine with nukes. And then on Thanksgiving Day, Putin flat out said that if Ukraine gets nukes and their intelligence service can verify it, there's going to be total destruction. And that's a quote of Ukraine and whoever gave them the nukes. Now, NATO just recently, after we sent them the ATACMS and the Night Shadow missiles that Britain sent and different things, NATO said that they will not accept Ukraine as a member right now. But Ukraine is in returns is saying that they will not accept NATO security promises because they realize that they can turn around and walk away from it at any point in time. Ukraine's leader clearly stated, you give us NATO membership or you give us nukes. That's what he's saying right now. And that's a clear provocation. Now, they claim the Biden administration was considering sending them nukes, and that is if there's not some already there, because we know that the God, I can't think of the name of the missiles that we sent them, the ATACMS, they got them months ago. And then when we gave them permission to use them, they used them within 24 hours. So are the nukes already there, or are they just across the border in Poland? That's what we don't know. But they were considering sending them to them. The Biden administration felt like, well, if we send them nukes, then that will be a deterrent in itself because Russia wouldn't dare attack them. Where Russia's attitude on Thanksgiving Day was just the opposite. There's going to be total destruction. And I know there's a lot of people out there to say that Russia's military forces aren't that strong. Okay, conventionally, you could present that argument. But if you look it up yourself, you'll see that Russia has the #1 nuclear force in the world. There's nobody stronger now. The United States places a close second, but they have over 5,500 nuclear bombs. They could destroy the world itself a number of times over and over again. And then they have their big boy is the La Bamba bomb. That's 50 megatons. And then they have that Satan II missile. That's a multiple warhead missile that just it by itself could take out the entire state of Texas. And I'm using Texas as a measuring stick because France, Germany, all of them will fit inside of Texas. So you use Satan II, it's all she wrote for that area. Now, Ukraine currently is preparing an offensive, like similar to the one that they've done in the Kursk region where they invaded into Russia. It's going to be in the Kharkov region. And Putin turned around and said that he's predicting there's going to be a nuclear radiation zone that could end the war in Ukraine. So if they come into Russia on another point somewhere, they don't have to use missiles. They don't have to use bombers. They have nuclear artillery, same way as we do. They could create a corridor that would be totally radioactive of all low yield nukes if they choose to. And they could destroy that invasion force just before it starts to come across the border if they choose to. That's the reason why I keep telling people that they could take them out anytime they get ready. I mean, they've showed great restraint not to have taken out Ukraine. So, and then there's the fact, do you want me to talk about the cables right now, or do you want me to hold on that for right now?
No, actually, that was the next thing I was gonna bring up was that.
Okay, well, let me keep going then. Let me keep going. Okay, now, right now, we got B-52s and F-35 Lightnings. Both are nuclear capable, stationed in Finland. Finland and Sweden had just recently joined NATO. And if you got B-52s and F-35s, there's got to be some nukes around somewhere, or you wouldn't be stationing B-52s inside of Sweden. You got the Baltic Defense Line, which is Latvia, Lithuania, and Estonia. They used to be Russian satellite countries. They don't want to be Russian satellites no more. They signed an agreement, a protection agreement among themselves back in January 2024, to where they are beefing up their borders and they're preparing because their borders face Russia and Belarus directly. You got the Nordic nations, Switzerland, Sweden, Finland. They're passing out pamphlets to their people, telling their people to stock food and water, get ready for nuclear war. They're telling them what to do before nuclear war. The pamphlet tells you what to do after the initial eruption. Switzerland and Sweden usually took a neutral stance in the past world wars. However, Switzerland learned and watched what was going on, and realized that they couldn't maintain a neutral stance. Sooner or later, somebody's going to invade them. So they've been preparing for years to get ready. They have built so many nuclear shelters that their entire population can go underground. That amazed me. Then they've got air bases inside of mountains where planes that work on the jump jet technology can fly in and out of the mountain, and giant steel doors will come down to seal the mountain shut. They've got caches, weapon caches buried underground all over the country that the people know where they're at. That's got mortars, ammunition, bullets, non-perishable food stocked in them. So if they get invaded, they realize that their army's not big enough to stop a Soviet war machine. However, they can fight a guerrilla war and outlast the Soviets like the Afghans did. After 10 years, the Soviets had enough and pulled out. So they figured that they can fight a total guerrilla war campaign. I mean, you've got attacks that we should be preparing for that will be coming from our weak points. And our weakest point to defend the United States is down south. We've got no missile bases down there to protect against incoming missiles. That's the reason why you've been seeing submarines in Venezuela. You've been seeing submarines in Cuba. We're totally wide open down there. And then my source of information here that I'm about to say is Newsweek. They're clearly saying that Europe itself, is the entire continent, is quietly preparing for nuclear war. You've got Germany gathering up 800,000 soldiers, hardcore soldiers. This is main force guys. These ain't reservists they're calling up to throw into the fray. They're putting together 800,000 to get ready to prepare to fight Russia in the event Russia decides to come into Europe or the Ukraine war itself starts to escalate beyond where it's at right now. Everybody's getting ready except for the United States. But I'm going to stop there for right now. I don't want to go too much further.
Well,
Yeah,
when it
that's-
goes into like Ukraine and stuff like that, the one interesting thing that seems to be passed over just every time regarding NATO is that's what got them in this conflict. This last conflict recently was NATO being on their borders. I mean, I don't understand how they could think like Ukraine. Zelensky thinks that joining NATO is going to tame down things over there. It's not. I don't understand. It's very simple. If he joins, has an opposition right there, Putin's not gonna deal with it. He's just not. He's not gonna deal with that shit. End of story. And NATO knows that. There's no way that they're gonna. That would be peaceful. It just would not.
Well, it wouldn't be peaceful, but what he's counting on is if he joins NATO right now, Article 5 has to be declared. And NATO has to come in full force to the rescue. And he's hoping that Putin will back off rather than risk world war. But I don't think that's going to happen.
No.
You got the
I don't
number
think so
one
either.
nuclear force in the world. You don't have to fear nobody. But I'll stop there.
See, but then too, you gotta compound that with, now you remember back before the toppling of the Soviet Union, when Ronald Reagan and Mikhail Gorbachev signed the nuclear treaties and whatever, and then there was a clause inside of that treaty that we wouldn't go nowhere near Russia, that we wouldn't go on their borders to do anything. So,
Right.
so messing with Poland and Sweden and Finland and all of them was supposed to be a no-no because they were all bordering. But of course, that's what we're doing, because now they're in NATO. You know what I
Right.
mean? So I think that's another part of it that when people are talking about this, you don't never hear them bring that up. But that's also a key piece. You know what I mean? It's like he's barking because you're on his border, but the reason why he's barking is because of the agreement that you made years ago that you would never do it. But you are, of course. You know what I mean?
Of course.
Now, like what Mike was saying, hell no, they're not going to put Ukraine into NATO right now. They know when the hell they're going to do that, because they know at that point that they're going to be they're gonna be obligated to do something. Then they're gonna have to do it. You know what I mean? It's not just what they're doing now. Like, okay, I'm just gonna give you these weapons or whatever, and y'all can sit there and do it, and we're gonna sit in the background and watch you.
Right.
You know what I mean? That's why you ain't hearing shit from China right now.
No kidding.
Because a lot of these components and stuff like that is coming from China. So they're not saying shit. They're gonna get your money, they're gonna get their money, they're gonna get their money, and they're gonna sit back and like, okay, yeah, y'all go ahead and do whatever the hell y'all want to do. And when y'all done playing over there, then we're gonna come behind y'all and sweep this up, and then we're gonna run shit.
Yeah, no kidding.
That's all they waiting for you to do anyway. You know, and then
see,
they're still funneling money through that anyway, because you just seen the other day where the German chancellor just promised what 650 in aid and 800,000 soldiers if they were needed to go into this war. Another 800,000 soldiers. U.S. just dropped another 750 billion just a couple days ago. You know what I mean? So they steady racking this shit up.
No
you
kidding.
know what I mean? I guess they figured that they're gonna rack up now. You know what I mean? Like, let me get all this shit now before Trump come in, and he gonna come in and he gonna try to shut everything down or whatever. But let's get all this stuff that we need to get right now. It's craziness.
I mean, from 2022, Russia was spending 40% above the normal amount that they'd spend for defense. So from 2022 up till now, each year it has increased. In fact, I got the figure that they're going to spend for 2025 unless they increase that. That's 145 billion, which is a record amount on improving their military. I mean, while our government is downsizing our military, our enemies are all increasing. And then because of this global economy thing that you just spoke on a second ago, they ran some sort of war game, and they claimed that in 2 weeks, we would be run out of smart munitions. We'd have to go back to just conventional warfare if we got into a fight with just China. 2 weeks. Our interceptors, and this is according to a general that's head of the Pacific Command, he said that all the stuff that we're sending to Israel and that we're sending to Ukraine, those interceptors, the 155 millimeter howitzer shells and stuff, that's coming directly out of our reserves to defend our nation against attack. He said they done reduced it by almost a half. And the thing about it is, a lot of those interceptor missiles, we get the materials and some of the computer chips from China. China recently has started slowing down on shipping that products to us, and even gun cotton. So we can't manufacture gunpowder. Now, we manufactured all this stuff ourselves, but because we want to be a part of this global community, we're creating a Achilles heel for ourselves, because now we got to count on materials coming from our enemies in order for us to be able to fight them and defend ourselves against them. And that is retarded as far as I'm concerned. I believe in nationalism. I'm not a globalist. I think we need more politicians that will lean toward a nationalist thing and less toward globalism. Who cares making it great for the people around the world? We need to worry about ourselves here and now. So
I agree.
I'm going to stop right there.
I'm going to give you guys just real quick a little hot take. Defund all of NATO, UN, EU, all of it. Just, if you're not America, sorry, our money stays here. It's my thinking pattern. But of course, that's an idealistic, thought process. Right. It would be nice, though, to see NATO actually be legitimately updated, because, it should have been updated, but after the Cold War. That's when it should have been updated. It's totally out of I believe that it's old news now. These are old handshakes. A lot of these people aren't even, weren't around during those handshakes. So it's kind of crazy. It needs to be modified.
I'm going to tell you something else that kind of is irritating to me. Now, we're just listening to Aaron, and he was just talking about how a general was talking about how much munitions and stuff that we had and whatnot. And then I seen another thing yesterday that was talking about the British Army, that said that if the British Army had to fight a war like Ukraine is right now, that they wouldn't last 6 months. Now, here's my question. If you're supposed to be in the precipice of war, right? Why are these generals doing all this fucking talking, telling you what you have and what you don't have?
100%.
What kind of shit is that?
Just letting everybody know what you're dealing with,
Exactly.
what you got. That's why they got pissed off at Biden for leaking information about Israel. They got pissed as fuck. They're like, well, we're not going to tell you shit anymore, dude. If you just keep exposing our plans. Like, that's not the point. You know? Crazy.
I mean, that makes no sense. Like, I've seen in the past 2 weeks, I think I've watched maybe 10 to 12 different documentaries on different stuff dealing with this. And all of them, they have someone who either used to be in the Defense Department, used to work for the Pentagon, used to be in CIA, used to be in FBI, whatever. And all these people are sitting there and they telling information, right? Now, I know that they passed a little law that you can't get the whistleblowers and all that jazz. And you know what I mean? I don't really care about that. But what I do care about is that if you sitting here talking about the country that you was out here defending, okay,
Right.
because you were all in these branches of government, which you had to go around the world defending the interests of this nation. But you sit on these shows and you say, oh, well, we only got 2 weeks worth of this, and we only got 3 months worth of this, and we only have this, and we only have this. Like, why the fuck are you telling your game plan? Like, that makes no sense at all to me. You know what I mean?
Stupid.
Why don't you just say, you know what? We got a building the size of the fucking Astrodome full of shit. Fuck around and find out. Why don't you just say that and just leave it at that? You know what I mean? Whether you got it or you don't. You know what I mean? But you sitting here giving out actual numbers as to what you have.
Dummies.
Like this isn't screened. Like, other people can't watch this. You can, you know what I mean? You can watch this show all over the world. You can watch all these shows all over the damn world. Why would you tell that? Why would you give away your defenses? You know what I mean? Like, what happened to, okay, if you really want to know, then find out on your own.
Do you think it's an ego thing?
Right. Do your own recon. Find out on your own. Just like you go everywhere else and find out. You know what I mean? Because I'm pretty sure China ain't sitting there saying, well, we only got 3 weeks worth of stuff to fight you with.
Yeah, no kidding.
You know what I mean? Russia ain't saying that either. You know what I mean? Ain't nobody else talking about exactly what they have. You making assumptions based on the numbers that they gave you. Okay, now you know those numbers is just that. It's numbers. You're not actually sitting there looking at it. Like, they may say, okay, I got 1,500 Titan missiles, but shit, I could have 5,000 though. I'm just telling you, I got 1,500.
Sure.
You know what I mean? So, but why our people is just sitting here like, we only got 3 weeks worth of smart weapons, and we only have 2 weeks worth of this. Man, what the fuck is wrong with y'all?
Yeah, no kidding.
You know what I mean? Motherfuckers don't know how to bluff these days.
Right. When you need it the most, it's time to bluff, motherfucker.
Bluff.
Yeah.
You just sitting here like some old bitches talking about, oh, we only got a little bit of something here we can use. What the fuck?
Yeah. It's right
Okay.
up.
Now, mind you though, it is a lot of sneaky shit going on top of that, because, you know, like we was talking about the fiber optic cable. Now, back in November, you had 2 undersea cables, fiber optic cables, that was connecting country to country. That this ship just happened to ride by it with the anchor down, dragging the fucking seafloor, and just happened to have picked up both these cables and snapped them.
Both.
Didn't have
Not
no
just
idea.
one.
Right. Didn't have no idea that the anchor was down, and you traveled so far with the anchor down and nobody knew it. And you just happened to run across these cables, you know, and and it was done by Russia. It was done by Russia. Now you know, of course, once you cut the fiber optic cables, then you basically then disconnected this country from communicating with this country. You know what I mean? And that's not something that can easily be fixed.
Right.
You know what I mean? It ain't like you could just jump out and like, oh, let me splice a couple wires together and this is good. I mean, this was undersea cable. You know what I mean? So you got to rerun all that. You know, but they knew exactly what they were doing when they were doing it. You know what I mean? But it's little small tactical things that they're doing.
Strategic.
That
Totally.
they're, you know, and then of course it's like it's done. My fault. You know what I mean? So it's always something. It's always something that's going on with that.
Yes.
And from
Could I add something to that?
well, hold on 1 second. I'm gonna read this one
Sure.
thing I got here. It says that the investigators looking into the incident, which involved the cable that ran between Finland and Germany, are focused on a Chinese restricted boat carrier and a Russian led sabotage. These suspicions that the ship's captain may have deliberately dragged its anchor across the seabed to cause the damage. It is extremely unlikely that the captain would not have noticed that the ship dropped and dragged his anchor, losing speed.
He was underway?
Yeah. Oh, yeah, he was underway.
He was underway. Yeah,
it's
impossible.
Losing speed for hours, cutting cables along the way. A senior investigator had talked about.
Yeah, he got paid off, but yeah.
But of course, the Kremlin has denied the claims, and the spokesman called it was absurd. Like, we have no idea the reason why you would blame us for that. But October of last year, the undersea cable between Finland and Estonia was done the same way, where they had a ship underway, drop his anchor, and go right across the cable, drag the cable up, snap it. So they've been doing it. It's not nothing that they just
new.
Started doing right now. Right.
Right.
They did it last year. They just did it again.
Crazy. Because 1000% you would know. You would know if you're dragging anchor, and you would, if anything, if you couldn't get your anchor back up, you would go out of gear, and then you'd have, believe it or not, even out in the middle of the ocean, you can have that shit delivered to you. Yeah, it happens all the fucking time. I used to be one of those guys that would deliver shit like that, like a big ass anchor or whatever. Yeah.
Right. See, but of course, when you're doing that, you also dragging through coral reef, everything else. You know
Absolutely.
what I mean? So you know when you're going and your ship barely.
But we have regulations on shit like that. You know, you're not allowed to just drag anchor, especially when you're underway.
Yeah.
You know,
we have regulations.
Well, right.
They don't have regulations.
Right. I mean, it's supposed to be international shipping. It's supposed to be, held to the same standard. But where are you going to be held liable? You know.
I mean, but who gonna tell it though?
Exactly.
Who gonna tell it if they didn't see it?
Totally. That's the thing, is they can kind of get away with shit like that. And you just pay off a guy like that, hey, just go ahead and say that this happened and this happened. You're the professional, write it up. You're dealing with companies that are multi billionaires. You know what I mean? Yeah.
Well, I'm gonna add to that a fact that a lot of people aren't talking about on that ship cutting those two cables. He drug his anchor for 100 miles. So that's impossible to drag it that far and not know. So that's the reason why my BS meter goes off when they say that was an accident. And then just a day and a half ago, the fiber optic cable between Finland and Sweden got cut. And it was cut during the nighttime. And they believe it was a Russian sleeper cell in one of the nations there that cut that. So, you know, if you got a bunch of people around and you don't know if they're sleeper cells or not, I mean, they can turn into terrorists overnight, and that could cause a fifth column element to be operating behind your national lines. So you got to stay aware of your surroundings. But it was a Russian sleeper cell, and this just happened a day and a half ago. So things are escalating. It's a constant buildup to whatever they're getting ready to come to. But I'm gonna stop there.
See, but when you have stuff like that that goes on where you cutting those fiber optic cables, so basically what you're doing is isolating these areas.
Mhm.
Okay, so you just did one from Finland to Germany, you sliced out one. You did one from Finland to Sweden, dropped out one. You did one from Finland to Estonia, dropped out one. So you basically taking these countries, and once you cutting that cable, you basically cutting communication.
Totally.
Basically what you're doing.
Totally.
So you isolating these spots. Okay. But if you notice, these spots that you isolating are what? NATO countries, number one. So now you fix it to where this one can't communicate with this one, who can't communicate with that one. You see where I'm getting with that?
Just so you know, it is literally impossible on a ship to drop your anchor accidentally and continue going. It's impossible.
I know.
Impossible. Yeah, it's actually impossible. Yeah.
I know that.
Yeah.
Now, here's a question that we're gonna. And I want the ones who's on the chat line right now to kind of give me your opinion on this as well. Let's say, for the sake of argument, that something escalates to the point that there is a actual launch. Okay. Now, according to FEMA, and FEMA has their little 200-page guidebook. If you go on FEMA.com, you can download the PDF file and
It's
read
200
those
pages.
200 pages. Yeah, it's actually a little bit more than 200 pages. But if you sit there and read that, is that right? Right, it's right. It's actually close to 3.
Insane.
If you read that, it tells you that in the event of a nuclear launch, that you basically have 15 minutes to prepare. Now, with those 15 minutes, most people don't even work 15 minutes from their home.
Yeah, no kidding.
More or less to be able to get back home and be prepared for something to actually, come at that magnitude. So the question that I'm asking is 2 questions. Number one, how far do you work from your home? Could you get home in 15 minutes? And my second question is, if something like this would happen, is your house set up for the 2 weeks that you're going to be sitting there in that house? Because, of course, you can't go outside.
Right. And a lot of houses don't even have, cellars or basements or stuff like that. So they may not even be equipped property wise.
Right. So you're going to have to fortify your house. You're going to have to, shelter in place, all this. You got to do everything. But are you prepared to do that for 2 weeks? Now, we're going to talk about a couple of things, but we're going to pop this picture up here, and I'm going to let Aaron run through this, because I'm going to have you blow it up just a little bit and start from the top, Aaron.
Yeah.
Now, this is how we're going to go with this. We're going to go from ground zero. Now, let's say ground zero. We can pick a spot. You can pick any spot, but I want you to go down that line there and kind of explain to people exactly what this is. So, being the fact that you only have 15 minutes, explain this to them.
Okay, in the 1.5 miles. Now, keep in mind, this is a 10 to 20 megaton weapon. Yes, the Soviets have 50. If you want to go by what the 50-ton weapon could do, you have to review Newsweek. Newsweek recently, this past few days, ran a big thing about what a 50-ton weapon would do detonating over a city. But this is the most common nuclear warhead that would be used. So we're going to use that for our demonstration here. Now, everything at 1.5 is going to be vaporized. I mean, the only way they'll know that you exist is your shadow will be burned into the ground.
Yeah, no kidding.
Now,
Damn.
within that 1.5 miles to that second ring, which is 2 miles, they say the streets will turn to molten lava if you're within that area. And out to 3 miles, basically, if you're in those first 3 red zones and that detonation occurs and you survive and you call for help, I can tell you right now, there ain't nobody coming to you. To send a rescuer in would expose them to so much radiation that you will endanger the lives of the rescuers going in. So if you're within that zone and you can't get out, then nobody's coming. They consider you to be dead in so many days or weeks anyway. Now, when you get out to about 4 miles, the wind strength is going to be so strong that you're talking hurricane strength winds. 4 miles to 6 miles. It's going to blow buildings over. Glass, debris is going to be flying at bullet trajectory. So if you get hit by anything in that area, you're basically cooked. If you ain't already underground, you're done. So if you could not take cover or get into a building, because they're saying right now that some of the United States cities are going to start putting signs back up to say which buildings could be used for fallout shelters. If you can't get to cover in 15 minutes or get outside the targeted area in 15 minutes, then what you're looking at here could be what you're going to be faced with, especially if you get caught out in the open. Now, at 8 miles and 10 miles, and before I go any further, I'm going to say this, that the bombs kill in basically 3 ways, okay? That's going to be blast, heat, and radiation. That's going to be how that they kill. So in the first blast, initial blast, if you're wondering if you can survive it, you got to be able to last 12 seconds. You count 12 steamboats in your mind. If you're still standing after 12 seconds, then you survived the initial blast. Then it becomes a 60% chance of survival because food and water and being able to take shelter from that weapon, from the radiation that's going to be coming down is what's going to make a difference. Now, in that initial blast, there's so much heat. A lot of people are going to get hit by, and that'd be like 6 miles, even 8 miles out. They're going to get hit by so much heat that they're going to get 3rd-degree burns. And anyone that's a nurse out there knows if you got 3rd-degree burns over 60% of your body, you're not going to make it. But let's say it's God's will and you survive, you're going to have massive amputations with 3rd-degree burns. So let's go out a little bit further, Mike. Let's go 8 to about 15 miles. Now, as you can see, the further away from that initial detonation, as the blast extends out and that heat wave extends out, there's less and less damage done from that 20 megaton weapon. Once you get to about 15 miles out from it, you're going to have structural damage. And you yourself could still be lacerated from flying glass or debris or whatever's flying in the air, but your chance of surviving is better. At 25 miles, you're going to have minor damage to your structures, to your cars, and probably some damage to you. But your proximity to the bomb and your immediate response after it detonates, well, is going to help determine whether you're going to be a victim or survivor in this type scenario. But you got to have things stocked up because the problem. You want me to hold off on going into what FEMA's saying, or do you want to go with that yourself, Bishop?
Well, just hold on a second because we're talking about that. Pop that back up one more time, Mike. So now with this diagram here, Now that doesn't say at all that if you make it 25 miles away that you're going to be walking away scot-free. That's not
Right.
not what this
That's
is
not
saying.
safe zone. That's not the safe
Right.
zone. Yeah.
Now we're only talking about one device. Now we're
Right.
not talking about, you know what I mean, multiple,
35 of them getting
right,
dropped on us,
35,
right?
40, 50, 100, whatever, because then you looking at, distances between this one and this one, you know what I mean? So
Yep.
it's going to be catastrophic, you know what I mean, to say the least. Even if you are 25 miles away, you know what I mean, it's still going to be some devastation going on. You know what I mean? You're not going to say, well, oh, well, I just made it through. You know what I mean? Fortunately, you can, even at 25 miles, you're still picking up radiation. You're still picking up the wind, the heat from that as well. So we're not saying that you're safe at 25 miles. We're saying that you're not going to be evaporated at 25 miles away.
Mm.
Now, even if you sheltered in place, that's still not a 100% deterrent. Now, I don't know, a lot of people know how to shelter in place. A lot of people don't. And then too, a lot of the when you're dealing with radiation and how radiation actually absorbs through your body, it actually absorbs through your thyroid gland, correct?
Yeah, your gamma.
So that's where but if you take the right pills, that would actually help, because it basically shuts down not really shut it down completely, but it lowers it enough to where you don't pick up a full amount of radiation. And some of them, I think you got the same thing that I do, Aaron. That's it's the thyroid blocking potassium iodide pills.
I see.
So explain them to them.
Okay. It is a thyroid blocker. What it does is it fills up your thyroid. You'll take one a day. You want to take a total of 130 milligram pill. Now, the IOSET is what they pass out in the military. It has exactly 14 pills there. Today's bombs are higher in blast and lower in radiation, and the rads will go down after 14 days. That's usually why there's 14 pills on what the military would issue you. Now, you can go on Amazon and order in the different pills in the bottles, but what you want to look is the milligrams, and you want to take a total of 130 milligrams. Now, someone mentioned in the comments about Nagasaki, Nagasaki and Hiroshima. Well, 183,000 deaths was Hiroshima out of a population of 389,000. Those bombs were higher in radiation and lower in blast. So these would probably be 1,000 times stronger in blast. That's the reason why we showed that one diagram of what a 20 megaton weapon could do. But the fact is, people keep saying that it's impossible to survive a nuclear blast or whatever. The Japanese homes were basically made of bamboo, paper, wood. They had no brick and mortar properties, and the few that they had were still standing. The buildings were still standing. There were people that were standing outside, and like I said, 389,000 survived the attack. That's 71% of their population. That was Little Boy. Fat Man, which was the bigger, stronger bomb of the two that they hit the other area with, 78% of their population survived. I mean, they always tell you how many people are going to die, but you can't predict God's will. And some of those people that died didn't die instantly. They died years later or weeks later from radiation sickness. But it was still 71 to 78% survival. Now, today's bombs might only have a 40 to 50% survival rate. But you got to survive that first 12 seconds to know if you got a chance after that, because your proximity to the bomb and your initial reaction after it happens, because that 15 minutes is based upon you getting outside the bomb zone, making it home, or getting somewhere inside to where you could be safe, because after that bomb detonates, 10 to 20 minutes later, the fallout is going to start to come down. Now, if it's raining outside, it's going to look like black tar coming down. If it's not raining, it'll look like ash coming down out of the sky. And you don't want to be out there getting that on you. And if you do get it on you, and you can cover your head up, as soon as you get in behind cover, you're going to strip those clothes off, put them in a bag, and get them outside your property, because those clothes are going to be carrying radioactive fallout. So 15 minutes after that bomb detonates, that's the average between the 10 and 20 minutes, that fallout's going to come down. So you have to be able to harden your property or do things to protect yourself. Do you want me to stop here before we go any further, Bishop,
No,
or do
ahead.
you want to?
Go ahead.
Okay. I have a product here, and it's called Husky. It's plastic screening. You get it in the paint department at Walmart. It's plastic drop cloths. It's 4 mil thick. When your windows get blasted out, to keep that fallout out of your house, you want to be able to have some duct tape on hand or Gorilla tape. And you want to have some rolls of that Husky drop cloth, because it's, like I said, it's 4 mil thick. You put it up in your windows, you put it over your doors, you tape everything. If you have a window unit air conditioner or a wall unit air conditioner, you totally tape that around it. You don't want none of that air with that fallout in it, or them dust particles coming inside the property where you're at. You want to keep all that stuff outside. And that plastic sheeting, you're not going to be able to see through it, but you might be able to make out an image walking past your window, because it's thick. But let's say it's a bioweapon that gets used. That same plastic sheeting would give you protection, because it's 4 mil thick. The pores, the bio element or attack material will not be able to sift through that plastic to get in at you. So you would still secure your windows and doors. But that's going to be necessary, and you got to have it on hand, unless you've already got 2x4s on hand that you can put and drill, and you already got them pre-drilled to fit your windows that you can cover it outside of your windows with. But if you don't, when your windows cave in, you got to have that plastic sheeting to be able to have any sort of protection. Now, FEMA, in their list of about 14 or so things that they've got that you should have on hand, I think is woefully inept. Because when that happens, cyber attacks would have already occurred, EMPs would have occurred, then they would come at you with the bombs. Now, according to FEMA, this is the nuclear war list. They're telling you to have enough water for 1 gallon per person per day. That's a lot of water, whether people realize it or not. And actually 2 gallons would be better. They said food, and this is where I got an argument with them. Food, at least 3 days supply of non-perishable food.
Oh.
You got a shelter in place for 14 days.
2 weeks.
What is 3 days going to do?
Yep.
What's 3 days going to do? I mean, I myself, I'm going to be like Noah. I'm biblical. I'm going to stay in 40 days and 40 nights before I stick my head out. If at all possible, 3 months worth of food and water, not 3 days.
Damn.
Then they said battery powered hand crank radios, especially if it's got the NOAA option on it where you can get the messages, because FEMA's thing is, let me see what they call it. They're telling you to stay in, take shelter, stay in, and stay tuned is basically what they're telling you to do. So they're telling you to stay tuned so you'd have a hand crank radio on hand to be able to get their notes. They're telling you to have a flashlight. Now, if EMP happens, those people who's got them battery powered special optic lights on their guns and got the flashlights and stuff, those batteries are going to be shot. If you've got a car Your computer chips in your car is going to get shot out, and so will your solenoid. So that's what's going to be taken out. So if you know something like that's getting ready to happen, take the batteries out of the stuff, because anything under power when the EMP happens, it's going to short circuit your stuff. So take the batteries out of the flashlights. They're telling you a first aid kit. You need more than just a standard first aid kit. I'm gonna let Bishop talk a little bit on that, but when we come back to it, they want you to have extra batteries. You got to have those batteries shielded. Otherwise, they're not going to be worth a damn. They're telling you to have a whistle to be able to signal for help. Okay. Then they're saying dust masks with filter to filter contaminants. Then they're telling you plastic sheeting and duct tape. I just showed you the right plastic sheeting. It's going to run you $25 a roll. They're telling you to have moist towelettes, garbage bags, and plastic zip ties for sanitation. Basically, what they're telling you to do is stick a garbage bag down into your toilet, and then you can have your little sanitation down into the toilet and zip tie it shut and toss it outside your house, and have moist toilets to clean up with if you don't have toilet paper stockpile. They're telling you to have a cell phone, charger, and backup batteries. Again, if the batteries aren't shielded, they're going to be a waste. And I think it's pretty optimistic that they think that after a nuclear war, that your cell phone is going to work. Then they tell you to have a wrench or pliers, which this is valuable, to be able to turn off your utilities. If you got gas lines coming in or water lines, you want to be able to know where those main shutoffs are, so that you can go turn them off and stop that from coming in, hopefully even before the bomb erupts. They're telling you to have a manual can opener. Most people don't. That way you can open up your non-perishable foods. They're telling you to have local maps. I don't understand that one because I'm not going nowhere. And by the time I get ready to go somewhere, I'd have to be run out of supplies, and I'd have a pretty good idea which direction I'm going in that point. But going back to first aid kit, Bishop, I'm gonna let you talk a little bit on that, because this is ridiculous.
Well, they was talking about just a basic first aid kit is what they were saying on there. But dealing with your first aid kit, of course, you got to have more in your kit besides some Band-Aids and a couple alcohol swabs and some Bassett trace. I mean,
Right.
you gotta basically make that first aid kit, to cover everything.
That's hard to do, right?
Right. So actually you can kind of piece a lot of this stuff together.
Mhm.
So like I said, like me and Aaron deal with this stuff all the time.
Right. You guys been doing this for years.
Right.
You know.
So the first aid kit, you have your basic stuff. You know what I mean? You have your alcohol and your iodine swabs and your Band-Aids and your Bassett tracing and all that. But you also have your personal meds that you take, aspirin, diuretics, you know what I mean? Because a lot of times when you eat stuff, of course, you're going to make sure you have diarrhea, stuff like that. Of course, you got to have that stuff. Headache medicine, pain medicine.
Acetaminophen and
I
stuff
mean,
like
like you
that.
got to have all this stuff in there. You know what I mean? I tell you, one of the best things that I found to put in there, and it's you use it for, like, you wouldn't think that you use it for this, but for like when you're out, not dealing with this situation, but like if you just out camping, stuff like that, bug bites, stuff like that. Actual hemorrhoid cream works better than anything else you can use. You just put it, put your little dab on it. You don't got I mean, bug bite gone. You don't even got to worry about it no more. You ain't sitting there
Mhm.
digging and itching, none of that. I
Getting
didn't believe it.
infected.
Yeah, right. I
Yeah.
didn't believe it at first, but it's true. So I mean, like, you live by that stuff. Like, it's always stuff that you put in there, but you put it on there based on what's dealing with you. Okay. Um, like in mine, I got antibiotics in it. I got pain medication in it. I got pills that I take that help me sleep. I got it in there. I mean, I got a little bit of everything that I know that I need,
Sure.
you know, and
And
then I
some.
made that right, and I made that kit, you know, just for that. It's based on everything that I know that I'm going to need if I'm out there. You know what I
Sure.
mean? And so you should make your kit basically same way. You know what I mean? Make sure that you have all the stuff that you would normally use. Make sure that that's what you have.
Yeah. Then I'd like to add to that. Uh, this is some material here. This is called quick clot. This is combat gauze. If you can't get quick clot by bleed stop, you can get that at a lot of pharmacies. It's a hemostatic agent. It causes blood to gel and creates a clot where you can stop bleeding. If you can control a person's bleeding, you can save their life. That's the bottom line. And with knowing that there's going to be a lot of debris flying in the air, you're going to need what do you call these things? Tourniquets. These are, you can buy them. They're kind of pricey, but
I'm kind of
if someone
biased. I think everyone should have one. You know, I'm kind of
yeah,
biased though, you know.
yeah, you should have more than one because people's limbs are going to get lacerated, and you need the ability to be able to stop the bleed to where you can start to treat the wound and decide if you're going to have to use a compression bandage to try to seal up. You should have sutures in your first aid kit. You notice that the FEMA list didn't say anything about potassium iodide tablets, which is going to be vital for the first 14 days. But and knowing that heat could cause third-degree burns, I would have more than one bottle of burn ointments or tubes of burn ointments, because there's going to be a lot of people that's going to get burns. And then you're going to need some sort of eye wash to flush the eyes, because I'm sure people are going to get stuff in their eyes. And the FEMA list mentions nothing about having an alternative way to be able to cook, because you're not going to have power. You're not going to have heat. I mean, if shit hits the fan, happens 9 times out of 10, it's going to be during the winter time where they can get the highest body count, so people will die of exposure. And then when summertime comes, all those unburied bodies becomes a damn walking bioweapon. I mean, disease will be spreading left and right. When spring comes and the thaw starts to happen, you need plenty of clothing. You need gloves. You need winter gear for the just in case. You need proper shoes. You want to keep if your car's still running, or you've got extra computer chips and extra solenoid to instill in your car and a spare battery so that you have something running. You want to keep your tank at least half full or 3/4 full in case you got to bug out. And just plenty of water. I mean, I can't emphasize having enough water. Any container that will hold water, fill it up. And if you want to further your knowledge, here's a book here. It's the best I've ever read on the subject. Mine's a little bit older edition. They have a newer one that's green in color, but this is the best book I have ever seen on the subject. And it tells you what to do before something happens, and it tells you what to do after something happens. Because keep in mind, your proximity to the bomb and what you do afterwards is going to determine if you can make it through the situation. But I strongly push food and water for 90 days if you can do it. But this 3-day crap, that gives people a false sense of security, and it's going to make people victims. And then that 15-minute crap, if you can't make it home and you go into a building somewhere that's got a lower level and you go down there, what are you going to do? I mean, it's not going to have no supplies down there for you. That's a slow death to me. You and everybody else, you got 3 days without water, 3 weeks without food. That's the bottom line. And then you're not going to be able to do much anything but die. So when you go somewhere and you take shelter, they don't have no supplies there. And let's say you're smart enough to bring your bug out bag with you into the downstairs. Well, now you're going to have to fight to defend it because everybody's going to be like, oh, you're going to split that with us or else. You got a mob coming at you. So there's a lot to take in consideration here. And you got to really hope that you got the luck of the draw and you're close to home to where you can get to your supplies. And believe me, if you don't and you're stuck somewhere for 2 weeks, by the time you get home, anybody that you told that you're a prepper, they're going to be done looted your place and there will be nothing waiting for you. Or you'll get there and squatters will be in there aiming your own guns at you.
Yep. No
So
kidding.
that's something that you're going to have to take
There's-
in consideration
Yeah,
here.
there's that too, you know. Yeah.
But 15 minutes to get behind shelter somewhere with no supplies is a slow death, as far as I'm concerned.
Damn.
I mean, where can you go in 15 minutes? So,
Right, exactly. You know what? Let me ask you too this.
mhm.
So what we've seen is that in these other countries, especially like you take like Switzerland, for instance, how we was talking about earlier, how they basically made preparations like this for that everybody in their country could go underground.
Go on.
And they've already had all this stuff built. And then you hear about other countries have been passing out pamphlets and stuff like that. They've been having different stuff on their on different media feeds and stuff like that, telling people, okay, this is what you need to do. You need to, start preparing yourself. You need to make sure you have this, get this. And they've been pushing this issue here for the past few months. But Switzerland probably took it further than just about anybody when they was like, oh, you know what, we're gonna make sure that we got somewhere for everybody to go.
Wow. Wow.
So I guess my question would be, why is it that you think that they're not pushing the issue here?
I don't understand that at all. Because there would be a lot of people that would want to have that information or have that heads up, and seeing that they're not pushing it here makes me feel like when something happens, they're not going to tell us it's coming.
Correct. You're
So,
right. Because it's going to cause civil unrest. That's why we are.
Right.
It's in Switzerland. What's their population? Let's just say 30 million. I'll grant 30 million. Dude, we've got like almost. I mean, think of the amount of people in this country, and there are some wackadoos in this country, just like any other place. But there are radicals and people. I don't think that the American people respond very good at shit like that. And I think at least that's what the government looks at it like as well.
Mm-hmm. I just looked at that. Switzerland has around 8.9 million people.
Right, exactly.
But they've made facilities that could house 8.9 billion people, though.
Which is crazy too.
You know what I mean? So let's say, for instance, that, each state in the U.S. made a facility that could house just the people in their state. You know what I mean? It's like Switzerland did it for their whole country.
I thought they were
You know what I
having
mean?
a housing crisis there too, which is crazy. Like on this little island, how are you housing another 8 million people?
Right. But they found a way to do it.
They did, I guess. That's
You know what I
crazy.
mean?
I
But
gotta look into
we're
that. That's
supposed to
interesting.
we're supposed to be the groundest country in the world.
No kidding.
But when something like this happens, basically what you're gonna get is you're gonna get the warning on your phone that shit getting ready to go down, and everybody's gonna instantly panic, jump in their cars, and run somewhere. You're gonna end up being stuck in traffic, and then that's where 9 times out of 10 is probably where you're gonna end up being, unless you somewhere where the country routes and stuff like that, you can be able to move around, because major intersections, anything like that, interstates, they're gonna be shut down. That's just what the first people gonna run to is interstate. So you're gonna have to have some kind of plan together, not just that day. That's the point that we're trying to make here. Don't wait till something like this actually goes on before you decide to make a plan. Like, have something that what you're going to do, something that you done practiced, you done went over with your family, that, okay, if something happens, this is what you do. You know what I mean? And it's like I said, like you said before, Aaron, this isn't anything that we're talking about to try to scare someone and put the doom and gloom thought in your mind. What we're doing is putting this out here to let you know that based on the tensions that's going on over here that they're not talking about right now, something like this could easily happen. It doesn't have to be a nuke. It could be just a dirty bomb. It could be, you know what I mean, just one of these sleeper cells do something. It could be and launch an actual nuclear device. You know what I mean? There's tons of different things that can happen. But the question we're asking you is what are you going to do if it does? You know what I mean? Are you prepared for that? Have you even thought about it? You know what I mean? Like take some kind of action in it. Like, you know what I mean? Like ain't nobody saying just go and run and just buy everything Home Depot got and be able and just have it on stock.
Right, right.
But put something together that you know at least you stand a fighting chance. You know what I mean? Like I can stay out the way for a little bit, you know, because I know that once something does go wrong, if I can make it, let me make it to the house. If I can make it to the house, I'm good. You know what I mean? Even if I got to leave my car somewhere, as long as I make it to the house, I'm good. You know what I mean? Or you have another spot that you've already designated as being like a meet up spot or whatever for your family. Like, okay, if something happens, this is where we meet up at. Different stuff like that. You know what I mean? But have something. Don't let something like this actually go on and you just sitting there and have nothing at all to be able to do. And then you one of these ones that's going to be out here scavenging and getting radiation poisoning and everything else, because everything outside is going to be, you know what I mean, you don't want to be out there. You're going to pretty much die instantly anyway, you know, or you're going to sit there and suffocate to death from the poisoning or the burns and everything else that you're going to suffer for. You know what I mean? Like I said, I don't wish this on anyone.
Right.
You know,
no kidding.
But
we live in reality though.
Right. But we just in a world right now that, you know, volatile stuff can happen. And the thing is, it's happening in other countries. It just hasn't happened here. You know what I mean? It happens in other countries all the time. It just hasn't happened here yet. So that's all I'm gonna say on that one. Anybody else got?
But let me add something here. Yeah, let me add something here. Back in the 50s, when the homes were being built, and some of you that's been in some of the older homes will know what I'm talking about. All the homes was built with fallout shelters. They would always have a concrete room that you'd go into, and it went out underneath the concrete porch. And that room was the fallout room. Now, we fast forward later, we get so comfortable that we don't think nothing can happen. These oceans are like a giant moat going around the United States to protect us from evil. And during the 60s, Kennedy said, we do not have the money in the system to provide everybody with a nuclear shelter. But however, if you want one, build yourself one. That's what Kennedy said. Now let's fast forward to January 12th, 2018. You're in Hawaii. A thing comes across everybody's phone saying inbound missile threat, take cover. Those people were running up and down the streets in chaos. There was nowhere to go. They were isolated. So they popped up all the manhole covers on the street and stuck their kids down into the sewers with no protection, covered the lids over, and waited to die, literally waited to die. And people were running in panic. And then 38 minutes later, they get a message, all clear. That's just how fast something can happen. And when you hear me say my mantra is, if you stay ready, you don't have to get ready. This is a clear example of it right there. Mm-hmm. I don't have to worry around and worry about stealing from people and becoming a taker or whatever if I have stuff put back already. Panic will not be a part of my day. I have a plan already in place. All I got to do is get to a certain spot, and I'm pretty confident that I can make it. Now, my house has a basement. I've already told Bishop I'm going to pick up me some cinder blocks to put along my glass, because I put glass block windows in along my basement. but I'm going to reinforce them. I'm going to put some cinder block into the window wells. I'm going to pour in gravel, and then I'm going to buy some of them bags of dirt that you buy for your garden, and I'm going to stack them up in front of each one of my windows. I want to harden those windows against blast and give them blast protection. But there's ways that you can do things if you start now. I mean, 6 months from now, could you be ready? Yes, if you start now. Or 6 months from now, you can have 6 months worth of excuses. That's up to you. The choice is yours. I'll stop there.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I seen somebody was talking about having a bug out. If you had a bag in the car, if an EMP is activated, your car would be ideal. Yeah, I mean, I keep a bug out. I got two. I got one at the house. I keep one in my truck. So, both my bags has the exact same thing in it. So,
Buy
so
multiple
either bag
copies
I can grab. Yeah, I can grab either bag at any time and go.
and got
You
the
know what I mean?
same thing that you needed.
I got the same thing in it. You know
Yep.
what I mean? So,
But
it's just
make
it's just
sure
a different mode that you in when you got it. You know what I mean? Because you at home, you in one mode. You out in the woods, you in a different mode.
Totally.
You know what I mean? So the bag I keep in my truck, that's the bag that I keep that if I know that I gotta hit the woods. You know what I mean? So it's a little bit more stuff in that bag, little extra stuff in there, because like I said, you're in a different mind frame at that point. You know what I mean? You in survival mode when you're in the woods. At home, you got stuff positioned in places that you know where it's at, you know how to get to it, stuff like that. When you out in the woods, you know at that point it's me against everybody else. You know what I mean? And I got to make it to the house.
Right.
You know what I mean? So it's a little bit different. But like I said, when you're doing this, you have to think about that as you're preparing these bags for that particular scenario. You know what I mean? You got one for this, you got one for this. So, but hopefully, a lot of the stuff that we put out, Aaron, you know what I mean? I'm gonna thank you tonight because you've done a damn good job
Went
tonight.
out.
Putting out a lot of this information.
Both of you guys did. Both of you guys nailed it.
I think this stuff here, it needs to be talked about. And just like life, there's certain things that you just don't want to talk about, and you try to push it to the side, and you just don't want to have that conversation. But with the events that's going on right now, with the insurrections, with the you had in South Korea where they was actually getting ready to go into martial law. It actually lasted like 24 hours and it changed over. I mean, it's a lot of unrest going on in these countries. It's not just Ukraine; it's all over the place. And this is something that we have that liberty that we never had to go through anything like that. But being the fact that we haven't went through something like that doesn't mean it's not going to happen.
Right. We're not invincible.
Right. And in our generation, I think we're going to actually see something. You know what I mean? It may not be, something, launched up, fall from the sky, but I think it's going to be something that's going to go on, something that's going to touch U.S. soil. You know what I mean? Whether it's going to be dirty or
Bound to happen.
something is going to happen. You know what I mean? And the best thing that we can do is put the information out there so you can be able to use it. As the Bible said, my people died from lack of knowledge. So we're putting it out there.
Yep.
And just like Aaron said,
information's key.
It's up to you whether you use it or not. So we're gonna go ahead and trim this show down for this evening. Once again, I want to thank everybody for coming out as always. Before you leave, like, follow, share, hit the like button on your way out. Share this with someone. Take the link, share the link, pass it to someone. Let them check it out. Let them watch it themselves. That's the only way we're able to get this information out there. You guys is watching, pass it around. Hitting that like button also helps the YouTube goblins to keep it on the
It's true
on the algorithm. to where it can actually hit the right people and hopefully be able to pass this information out the way we try to do every week. So keep pushing it like you have. I said those of you who's not on the Facebook group on YouTube, jump on there, hit the Diamond Effect group.
I'll get the link right now.
There's a lot of stuff that we post on there all the time. A lot of information that we push on there in between these shows. So get on there, check it out, and we also try to have a little fun on there. You know what I mean? I get on there and try to clown a little bit, but you know what I mean? But we also put a lot of information out there too. But like I said, thank you everyone once again. See you all next week. And Aaron, I'm gonna turn it over to you, and then we'll let Mike have his last word.
Again, having a home supply kit or disaster kit handy, keeping some sort of a get home bag in your car. These are all things that increase your chances of being able to make it. I mean, right now, and I'm quoting somebody when I say this, FEMA will not have the financial, human, or technical resources to be able to respond to the upcoming potential disasters. I mean, North Carolina, they've only got 2,000 employees, FEMA does. They sent their assets to North Carolina, and then a week or two later, Florida got hit by a hurricane. They shifted all their resources down to Florida, and then they started hollering that they were broke. So this is a clear example. They don't have the financial, human, or technical resources to handle a disaster of a major aptitude. I mean, if it's 3 states, half the nation, or the whole nation, you're not going to see them. Help isn't coming. The first responder is you. Take action. And I'll stop there.
Everybody, thank you guys so much for hanging out with us this evening. You guys could be anywhere in the world, but you're here with us, man. So I very much appreciate all of you guys. We all do. And like Archbishop said, make sure you hit that like button on the way out, man. It's the #1 metric of all of YouTube, man. Help us out. Much love, honor, respect, everybody. We'll see you guys back in 7 days.